Directly representing the government of Donald Trump, Ambassador Laura Dogg was in Venezuela, and she reinforced Washington's determination to keep Diosdado Cabello out of any public office. She emphasized that Cabello is still under investigation and remains on the wanted list of the United States State Department, with a reward of $25 million for his capture. This measure increased international pressure on the number two of Chavismo, who quickly found a way to appoint his daughter, Daniela Cabello, to take over the Ministry of Popular Power for Tourism. Cabello tries to surround the Venezuelan government from all sides, but the pressure from the United States for his capture keeps growing, with CIA agents already on his trail.
It's been 24 days since the kidnapping of our president and our dear comrade Silvia Flores. 24 days that our people have suffered from that treacherous attack in the early hours of the morning.
Even in the face of sanctions and the constant threat of international persecution, Diosdado Cabello reaffirmed his position of resistance. Currently serving as Minister of the Interior, he stated he will not resign, and he once again openly challenged the United States in a gesture that symbolizes both his political strength and the regime's willingness to confront external pressure. This confrontational stance keeps Cabello at the center of attention, turning him into one of the main points of tension in the geopolitical dispute involving Caracas and Washington. In this scenario, Diosdado Cabello faces a dilemma that directly threatens his political survival. The loss of support among the generals, who were previously sustained by large sums from transnational trafficking, weakens the backbone of Chavismo. Without resources to maintain the loyalty of his military base, Cabello sees the protection network that for years guaranteed his influence and power within the Venezuelan structure collapse. The slow breakdown of this circle of trust reveals internal cracks that could become permanent splits. At the same time, the maritime blockade imposed by the United States in the Caribbean Sea not only cut off the regime's financial flow, but also further isolated Venezuela. In the international scenario, the lack of liquidity compromises logistical operations and reduces the ability to maintain strategic alliances, leaving Cabello vulnerable to external and internal pressures. In this climate of scarcity and distrust, his leadership is questioned, and the risk of mass abandonment by top military officers grows more real, questioning whether Chavismo will remain the country's dominant force. Venezuelan government reports show CIA agents still discreetly operate in Venezuela, focusing on strategic areas. This silent presence aims to map Nicolas Maduro's movements and identify his travel routes, as well as monitor the military sectors that still offer him support. Subtitles: Sonia Huberci. The actions of United States intelligence focus on gathering crucial information that could further weaken the position of the number two figure in Chavismo, preparing the ground for coordinated actions aimed at neutralizing his political and military influence. Fiham Guantel. At the same time, international mercenaries are on Cabello's trail, motivated by the $25 million reward offered by the United States State Department. These groups, made up of ex-military and experienced fighters, operate in the shadows and take advantage of internal instability to get closer to their targets. The combination of CIA infiltration and the constant pressure from these mercenaries is creating an increasingly tight siege around Cabello, who sees his room to maneuver shrinking every day, making his stay in command of Chavismo a race against time. The invitation made by the United States to the interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, to meet with Donald Trump in Washington brought a new layer of tension within Chavismo to the surface. The proposal, which could open the door to diplomatic negotiations, quickly became a cause for concern among her closest allies. The fear that Rodriguez might be captured upon setting foot on American soil has led many to advise her. Opportunity, if plain to thee, reinforcing the perception that any move outside Venezuela could pose a direct risk to her freedom and to the political future of the regime. Delcy hesitates over the invitation while Diosdado Cabello publicly urges her to go, calling the meeting a strategic opportunity. However, behind the scenes, suspicion is growing that Cabello sees this possibility as a chance to consolidate his power. If Rodriguez is removed or captured, he would take full control of Venezuela, strengthening his position as the top leader of Chavismo. This ambiguity in his intentions reveals internal regime divisions and highlights the intensifying power struggle in Venezuela amid international pressure. The Southern Command's encirclement, along with constant monitoring of maritime and air routes, indicates that any attempt at resistance will be met with military force. Meanwhile, interim President Delcy Rodriguez faces a dangerous crossroads. If she chooses to keep Cabello in his position, she could become an immediate target of the next military incursions, further increasing the pressure on the Chavista regime.
You know that in these days I have had phone conversations with President Donald Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and that should be the way.
Venezuela, therefore, is moving toward an inevitable outcome. Either there will be an internal rupture capable of removing Cabello from power, or the country will face a new external intervention of even greater proportions. The fate of the regime seems to be sealed between the stubborn resistance of its leaders and the determination of the United States not to back down in the face of the threat. At Life in the Barracks, you stay updated on all military news. Like, subscribe, and watch a video on your screen. Forward, soldiers. Until next time.